Greetings, everyone. Rajee Narinesingh here, transgender activist, author, mystic, actress, reality TV personality. I know. I'm a lot of things, y'all. So, you don't need a penis to make you a man. Well, heck, for that matter, you don't need a vagina to make you a woman. I'm a living example of that one. So, all of the men basically that I've been with, dated, etc., have been cisgendered, heterosexual identifying men, except for one. Well, okay, and you know what? Let me not forget about the few gay relationships I had when I was first coming out, living as a gay male. Can you imagine me? Well, heck, in those days, I didn't know I was trans yet. It took me some time to figure it all out. But for the most part, they've been cisgender meaning biologically male, heterosexual / heterosexual identifying men, except for one. My experience with a transgender man. So a few years back, more than a few years, it's been some years now, I dated a trans man. And you know, it's funny because we actually met at like a trans support group. And the ironic thing is, he came to the group with a female, and she wasn't even trans. But then at the time, I was like, wait a minute, is she trans? And I'm thinking, wow, she's pretty passable, you know? And I was just thinking that he was her boyfriend, like, you know, just a supportive boyfriend that was coming to a meeting. And then as the meeting went along, some of the stuff he said, I was like, wait a minute. He is a trans man? You would never know it. Oh my God. He was like, when I tell you, so masculine looking and acting. And so after the meeting, like, you know, people were talking with each other, and he came over and we started talking. And there was like this connection and vibe going on. I felt it actually when he walked in the room. And so we exchanged phone numbers, and he called me and we started communicating. But there was this thing stopping me. It was like, because I felt the energy and I knew where it was going, you know, like to that whole relationship thing. And I remember talking to a trans girlfriend of mine at the time, and I was telling her, but, you know, I've always dated like, you know, biological men. I'm used to them having like, you know, a penis, and, you know, they're, you know, just used to dealing with that type of guy. And she looked at me and she's like, girl, you are doing the same thing that straight guys that are attracted to us do, because the feelings are there, but then they're scared and they hold themselves back because they're thinking exactly the way I'm thinking. And that kind of struck a chord with me. I was like, you know what? She's right. Let me just keep an open mind and kind of, you know, go with it. So I did. And one thing led to another, and we ended up dating. Now, I have to say, well, and this is like my personal experience from what I've seen. I know it's a mixed bag, and it just depends on the person's content of character. But what I found dating a trans guy is when we would go out, he was such a gentleman with me. And he was so open with me because, you know, like, he's trans, I'm trans, and it was just like this kind of like a freedom, you know, just feeling free. Because, I mean, to be honest, like, all the guys that I date, I would say 95% of them are like, you know, secretive about it. And so that wasn't in the dynamic at all. He was like taking me out to restaurants, and we were going all over the place. And I have to admit, it kind of felt a little awkward at first because I wasn't used to it. And so, and just know how to say the right things, but it clicked. I was like, okay, yeah, because they would understand me more than probably most biological heterosexual men would. So anyway, and this is another thing. People, 9 out of 10 people knew I was a transgender woman, but no one knew he was a trans man. They all just thought he was a regular guy. And so, as time went on, I mean, we had some good times. And listen, it wasn't really long that we dated. It was like about maybe a month and a half, 2 months. But we had a good time. I would say for the most part, we had some really good times. And I don't really know why it didn't work per se. I don't think there was one particular reason. It just kind of like fizzled out. And he probably actually had his reservations about dating me as a trans woman because the women that he used to date or he usually dated were cisgendered. I don't know necessarily. I think some were heterosexual, but a lot of them were like lesbian identifying women. So it was probably different and new for him too. But so, okay. So now I know this is a little TMI. When it came to like the sex part, we would go out and like, he'd be, oh my God, such a like a horny dude because after like he was like a gentleman to me and we went out and had a good time, ate it. And I forgot this. Never let me pay. Never let me pay for anything, honey. Talk about whining and dining. So anyway, when we would get back to my place, oh my God, he'd be such a horn dog, ready to go. And the thing is, it was mainly, there wasn't really any intercourse because I'm such a basement bottom, y'all. I don't mind if like, you play with it a little bit, but beyond that, I am not a top. I am not a top. So anyway, he would usually get on top and like grind like he was actually having intercourse with me. And the interesting thing is testosterone is a powerful hormone because what it did is it almost made, and I know this is TMI, but I got to keep it real, y'all. It almost made his clitoris like a little penis. So, and then like I said, he was just so masculine. His hands and his body. He worked out a lot. Actually, a bodybuilder. So he had muscular body, feet. Just very manly. So yeah. But I think, like I said, it was probably a number of things that like went into it not working. And maybe that was partly because, me, I just wasn't used to dealing with a trans man. And, but it's definitely an experience that I would not, and I do not regret. Like, I'm glad I opened myself up to love and I didn't stop myself because of all the, chatter in my head about me only dating biological cisgendered heterosexual men, because like I said, the relationship was fun. We had some good times. So anyway, that's my experience with a transgender man. And let me tell you, some of these trans guys, they are so fine. And that's when you realize that saying gender is in the head and not between the legs, because it's more than in the head. It's an energy that exudes. Like, gender, me being a trans woman isn't just me putting on a dress. It's the way I gesture, the way I walk, the way I talk, my energy, my essence, you see, that makes me a trans woman, a woman. So on that note, hey, I want to wish everyone love, peace, happiness, good health, prosperity, and many wonderful blessings. And you know what? Hashtag love, right? Isn't it about all of us just being spirits in these bodies and connecting with one another? And sometimes you meet someone and the feelings are there and you just go with it. Okay, I gotta admit, the physical does count too. I have to be attracted to the person. So, all right, on that note,